So, WWE Battleground was last night, and I gotta tell you, the internet is losing its mind. People are all over social media, all over the wrestling forums, talking about how this was the worst pay-per-view of the year, hands down, and how it might go down in history as one of the worst pay-per-views of all time. My opinion is stop for a second and think about it. I believe there are several reasons why this pay-per-view was not one of the worst ones in the WWE's history. This is Brent from No Cell Radio, and this is the first video in a series of videos titled 3 Reasons Why. And I'm going to give you 3 reasons why Battleground 2017 was not as bad as you probably thought it was. Okay, so before we begin this video, let me start off by saying I understand there's a lot of you out there that are going to really disagree with this video. And you're going to say to me, well, Brent, it was one of the worst of all time. Why do you think it's so good? I don't think it was that good. There was a lot of things wrong with it. The women's match bored me to absolute tears. And there was a lot of things you could pick out that didn't really go as well as maybe the WWE thought it would, or maybe they had hoped that it would. But that doesn't mean there were still some good parts about it. And that gets me to my first reason why this pay-per-view wasn't as bad as some people thought. And that is the actual wrestling, the mat work that went on. You had, hands down, the match of the night with the Usos versus the New Day. I don't want to say it was a match of the year candidate, but it might very well have been one of the best tag team matches of the year. These two teams can go, they can work, and they put on a killer match. There were some amazing false finishes. There were some great spots. Kofi's little trust fall onto the Usos, who caught him in midair, were able to power bomb him. Then I think right after that they super kicked Xavier Woods. You had Xavier Woods' leap from across the ring to end it. You had Xavier Woods leaping into a super kick. There was spot after spot, false finish after false finish. There was some great storytelling going on in that match. It was a top-notch quality match. You can't have that in a pay-per-view and say it was one of the worst. To me, that would be the equivalent of watching a basketball game, having Kobe Bryant go out and score 80 points, or having LeBron James record a triple-double, and you going, well, it wasn't that good of a game. How can you say that when an amazing individual feat went on? That match was good. It was top quality and probably the best tag match I've seen in a long, long time, especially from the SmackDown brand. You also had solid match work in the Kevin Owens AJ Styles match as well. You can definitely argue the finish was weird. I thought so myself. I know I was talking to Corey last night and he thought the ending was weird. You could even say that the Shinsuke Nakamura and Baron Corbin DQ was lame. I totally understand the finishes. I'm not talking about the finishes. I'm talking about the actual wrestling that went on. Shinsuke got to show a little bit more of that hardcore striking style, the strong style that we haven't seen from him, that everybody's been complaining about. And that's one thing you have to understand. And I'm going to speak directly to some people right now. All you marks that hate the WWE just because it's not New Japan or because it's not some indie promotion, because you think that that's what you're going to see when you see the WWE, go watch your indie promotions. Go watch New Japan. This isn't for you. Can I be frustrated with the way Shinsuke Nakamura has been booked? Sure, I totally understand it. Can I be upset with the way the U.S. title match finished? Sure, I can totally understand it. But the truth of the matter is that the wrestling, the actual art of what they do, was not that bad for a good majority of the matches. Even the Mike Bennett, I'm not going to call him Kanellis, the Mike Bennett and Sami Zayn match had good wrestling in it. So you can't deny that. And that's why I would give them the pay-per-view overall a little bit higher of a grade than a lot of people out there are, because I can't deny the actual quality wrestling that went on. You can't have a pay-per-view that includes Shinsuke Nakamura, Kevin Owens, AJ Styles, Sami Zayn, and sit there and say that it was one of the worst of the year. That's horrible, that's blasphemous, and I don't think it should happen. So that's my first reason why that pay-per-view wasn't as bad. Okay. Second reason why is it actually builds towards SummerSlam in some way. And I'm going to go with you here for a second. I did not like the finish of the women's elimination match. I don't think Natalya is the right choice for SummerSlam. You have two personality duds. You have two microphone duds. And that's going to be a boring match to watch. But if you look at a lot of the other matches, they built towards something. The New Day and the Usos are now essentially 1-1. So you could easily have a blow-off SummerSlam match with them, right? Rusev lost the flag match. And I know a lot of people are saying, oh, great, big match, John won another match. Can you not understand WWE's booking? I've been watching the WWE since I was 5 years old. The WWE has always thrived on the good old wholesome American versus the evil foreigner. It is a constant in the WWE. Look at the main event. Randy Orton isn't your true-blooded all-American boy, but he is American versus a foreigner. This is always how it goes. John Cena is the new Hulk Hogan. He is the American man. So you know, in a pay-per-view that comes in the month of July, you are not going to have Ruru winning it. I know all you are sitting there saying, but he needs a victory. They should push him more. Stop it. That's when your markish nature comes out. Just stop it. They're going to give it to John. It blows off that feud quickly so he can move on to whatever he's going to move on to, because they've been teasing him being this whole free agent. Is he going to Raw? Is he going to SmackDown? It frees him up. You also now have Jinder Mahal done and over with Randy Orton, so that progresses to whatever he's going to get into in SummerSlam. Kevin Owens and AJ Styles are now 1-1, so if you want to move that feud into SummerSlam, you have that blow-off match as well. Sami Zayn gets a much-deserved victory in a pay-per-view over Mike Bennett, which means it's going to fuel Mike Bennett and Maria's anger even more, so that allows that feud to continue. And Baron Corbin and Shinsuke Nakamura ended in a DQ, which allows that feud to continue. Isn't the point of these smaller pay-per-views to build towards the big four? Isn't SummerSlam coming up in just another month? All the WWE was doing was building towards the next pay-per-view. And that's where some of you have to get it straight. You always complain that it seems like there's no progression towards anything. It seems like things are just random. Yes, sometimes they are. But this was a situation where they actually looked ahead and said, how can we build? Again, I'm not going to disagree with you. The U.S. title finish was piss poor. The women's match was boring as all get out. I didn't like the DQ with Shinsuke Nakamura. Even his feud with Baron Corbin deserves more. But if you're going to do it, they've committed to it, and they've now built towards something. So I think you need to slow down a little bit and understand that this pay-per-view was essentially doing its job for the SmackDown brand. It was building towards something coming up in the future. Okay? Now, my third and final reason, and this one's an interesting one, and this has to do with the return of the great Khali. Now, again, I don't think he needs to be out there. He looks horrible. He looks in bad shape. The man can barely move. I was just as horrifically shocked as probably all of you were when you saw him come out. But, for all of you that have been bashing Jinder, have you ever thought that maybe it's the person on the other side of the ring that's creating some of this issue? Randy Orton doesn't ooze charisma as a face. If you've listened to our podcast, you know very well that we believe Randy Orton is best served as a heel. He does not have that type of personality that can carry a feud, nor does he really have the microphone ability to carry a feud. Jinder is working the hardest he can. He took that proverbial ball and he has run with it as hard and as fast as he possibly could. And they are building him up into this kind of foreign, stable leader. And what do you need in a stable? You need bodies. You need people he can surround himself with that can do different jobs. Look at the Wyatt family. They brought in Braun Strowman to kind of be Bray Wyatt's enforcer. So what do you do for Jinder Mahal? You bring in another person who falls in line with his, I don't want to even say it, but his racial background. You bring in another person who fits his nationality, and now he has a third member of his kind of entourage, his stable, his henchmen, so to speak, that can do some of the dirty work and the heavy lifting for him. You have the Singh brothers who have served their purpose amazingly. These guys are another example of taking their ball and running with it. They are doing the best they can. They are the new J&J security. Everyone said I heard several people, me, myself included, that kind of liked heel Seth Rollins with this kind of henchman-y, Patton Briscoe type thing with J&J security. They're just mimicking that. That's all they're doing. It's just now Jinder Mahal. And I know everyone can say, oh, here's a guy that went from 3MB to a jobber to now WWE champ. He didn't choose that. The WWE chose it. And all he's trying to do is make the most of it. And I think it's actually smart to build a stable around him. it gives him his own version of the authority, and it makes that face, whoever he's going up against, automatically have the deck stacked against him. And if you can get the right person against him, I don't know if it's John Cena, I know that's the rumor, I don't know if that's it. But if you got a Sami Zayn, if you got a Shinsuke Nakamura, if you got an AJ Styles, and you set up this kind of literally us against them type of mentality, it can really work. You have to give a ton of credit to Jinder Mahal for doing what he is doing with such little push and so little time. And even though I don't want to see the Great Khali wrestle, I hope he doesn't wrestle, it helps Jinder Mahal. It certainly brings more heat on him, which if you're trying to make him a heel, he needs. And it certainly provides another person around him that makes him seem even more evil. Seems like he is growing his power, which he has slowly been talking about. It all fits what he's trying to do. So, hey, kudos to the WWE for taking a chance on Jinder. Kudos for having the guts to bring back the Great Khali and give him that person. I don't think it's that bad. So, folks, again, my advice, slow down before you start ranting and raving online. This was not an A+ pay-per-view. It wasn't even a B+ pay-per-view. I would say it was a C, maybe even a D pay-per-view. But that easily makes it, to me, definitely not one of the worst that WWE has ever produced. Even the Punjabi prison match, it may be a silly gimmick, but it's a spectacle. It lowers down, you got the music playing, you got the same pomp and circumstance that you see with the Elimination Chamber and Hell in a Cell. So give it a chance, go back, look at the real heart of what WWE Battleground was, and I think you're going to be a lot more okay with it than you initially were. So that's my spiel for today. I appreciate taking the time to listen. Again, I'm Brent with No Cell Radio, and we'll see you next time on 3 Reasons Why.